Other than the photographic evidence?
Uh-huh.
No.
Right. How long did you retain custody of this alien body?
10 days.
10 days. On the 10th day, what happened?
Well, I think there needs to be something said prior to that.
All right.
Go ahead. We had brought this extraterrestrial home in the event to have something done with it. Something so that somebody could put some sense to all of this. I didn't want to kill it, but I did it out of fear. I did it out of frustration for what I had just witnessed. And I felt terrible, and I still do. But I brought it home, I saved it, I put it in the freezer. We went through the process of trying to find out what to do, and who to go, and who to talk to. And no one would believe us. No one would believe the seriousness of this.
You mean among your friends, or?
Among some of the professionals that I talked with.
The UFO people, or?
Yes, I talked to several people through the university. I talked to a professor that I knew specifically as a friend. I tried to set up meetings with him. Things started to happen. He told me he would come and look. I then received a phone call several hours later, and this was predetermined that he would come over and look at this. All of a sudden, his tone changed. He canceled the appointment. No reason given. Mm-hmm. This started to happen one after the other. Then we realized there were people watching the house.
Dr. Reed, at that point, hold on, please. All right. Dr. Jonathan Reed is the man you're listening to at the moment. Robert Wraith is here, and so's Whitley Strieber. I'm Art Bell. And this is Coast to Coast AM. All right, back now to our guests, Robert Wraith, Dr. Jonathan Reed, and Whitley Strieber. Gentlemen, welcome back. I want to ask one quick question of you, Doctor, and you, Robert. The 3 photographs that I now possess that I put on the website, not everybody has a computer, and we have a newsletter that we publish. We have put your copyright, your name on these photographs. Would you give us permission to put these in the newsletter as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Your house, Doctor, you become aware, is being watched.
Being watched. It seems like every time we have made arrangements to go anywhere, we're being followed. This escalated to a degree where we both became very, very paranoid, and also it became dangerous.
In what sense?
Well, we almost got run off the road twice by, a vehicle, a big dark blue van.
Mm-hmm.
The incident that before the break, I was trying to say, is that after we did the topical examination, and I made the video, a few days went by where we started to set up some appointments to do another examination with some, like I said, another professor, so that I could make some choices on what to do.
Sure.
When some of those arrangements were canceled, I was very frustrated. I was angry. And in preparing for that, I had put a table out and, a place to do this examination.
Sure.
At that point, I put everything away and was closing things down in my garage when I noticed a sound coming from what I thought was underneath my freezer. A thump sound.
Oh, boy.
I thought it was the compressor going out.
Right.
And I thought, if this happens, I'm going to be stripping my refrigerator and putting this in there. So I thought it was rats.
It sounds like something from Alfred Hitchcock. All right.
I'm telling you, this is chilling. It's really
At that
chilling.
point, I went to investigate. I found that there wasn't any rats, and the compressor seemed to be okay. I heard sounds, and I opened the freezer, and Freddie, which is what we took to calling him, was not dead.
What?
He was still alive and moving and screaming.
At this point, I'd be screaming.
I slammed the freezer,
Oh, my God.
ran into the house.
Jonathan,
Yes.
do you have that audio handy?
Oh, yeah. Now, this is audio from the totality of the videotape runs about how long, gentlemen?
About 6 minutes in each segment.
And it should be said that this was taken in the woods, most of it. And it was jerky, and you were running at times, and other times you stopped for at least a moment and got a good clear shot, and then running again.
Yes, exactly. I think what the audio Robert is speaking of is the audio that I recorded of the alien screaming.
You have that.
Yes, I do.
You can.
My hand.
You have that in your hand.
Yes, I do.
All right. Would you please go ahead now, and though it's not the best way to do it, hold the phone up and play that audio for us
Okay.
from the tape.
It was, it's the sound of opening the freezer, the noise, and closing the freezer.
All right, go right ahead. All right, that was that was somewhat hard to distinguish. Was that a scream? Certainly, there was a background. I could hear something open. I could hear.
It was just the sound of this extraterrestrial screaming, opening the freezer and closing the freezer.
You must have a good, strong heart, Doctor.
Naturally,
Not
that
much longer.
that wasn't taken the first time he had gone out there.
No, that was done later.
To check when you heard the thumping in the freezer. That was done later as Jonathan actually attempted to communicate with the alien.
Oh, you did?
Well, I did attempted to see if it was still alive.
Good. So now you've got a live alien with a terrible head wound in your freezer, which has apparently come back to life, or maybe it never died, hard to say which.
Well, obviously it didn't die.
Yeah, obviously it didn't die. And obviously the freezer didn't kill it.
Well, that's kind of a mystery. I would have assumed that without, an excessive amount of air and the freezing temperature that it would have.
If it wasn't dead, it would be dead.
But I did notice during the examination that the tissue had changed around the wound. It seemed almost like it had adhered back in position. Now, I took that for just the way things freeze. When you freeze something that is wet, it sticks.
It seems as though the freezer was actually, for some reason, the elements of the environment were somehow conducive to its healing. Somehow it was...
Hey, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah, but somehow it was allowing this creature to heal. And there's no way of understanding exactly how that could be or what it really means.
I'm speechless, frankly.
Yeah, so am I. All right, so the last time this is something the police would ask. When was the last time you saw this creature?
9 days from the date that I encountered it to the date that I no longer had it.
All right, then I'm wrong. I'm not understanding the timeline. Tell me how many days it was when you opened the freezer and this alien was alive.
3.5 days.
3.5 days. 3.5 days. And so you
But
closed.
I had taken it out of the freezer several times during that time.
I understand.
Okay, doing the examination and put it back in and wrapped it back up.
I can imagine that. And then from the time that it apparently reanimated, I'll use that term, and you slammed the freezer shut and locked it, there were, about how many more days elapsed?
Well, it was a total of about 3.5 days to that point.
Okay, did you open it again, or did
Yes,
you?
I did.
You did?
Yes, I did.
And what did you observe?
Well, I observed that it, in fact, was still moving, but very quietly, not as fast, very, very slow, that it seemed to be injured. It wasn't, in good shape.
Not after being in the freezer that long.
Well, or hit on the head.
Or a hit on the head, right.
But it was alive. And that is about the time when other things started happening, which eventually I lost control of the body.
Okay, how did the body come up missing? When did you suddenly realize it was missing? What circumstances can you tell us about?
Well, during the time when all this was going on, there was a lot happening. We were trying to make some logistics to move different pieces of evidence, to secure them in different areas, because I was under the assumption that somebody had been through the house. And at that point, I didn't trust anything. So I divided the evidence into different groups and placed them in what I felt was secure places. Later on,
You say the evidence, what do you mean?
photographic evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I had different, some of the evidence which Art has. I had some other videotape of the creature in the garage moving alive, which I no longer have.
Doctor, you're lucky to be alive. Did you ever attempt to remove this creature's clothing?
During the second examination, which I made with my friend, we went over the body very, very carefully. And I documented everything. We photographed it.
Did you remove the clothing, the black clothing?
We attempted to. And in doing so, I used an X-Acto knife and made a slice in the material.
Right.
And the material almost liquefied as I cut it and rejoined itself.
Oh, my.
There was a point where he went to cut it again, and it was a longer cut, and then again it came together, and then on the third time, it just disallowed him cutting it at all. Part of the clothing had actually adhered to the knife and just wouldn't let him cut it.